Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, Fidelity Concord Street Trust just filed its semiconductor sector disclosure, and I am seeing one number that stands out. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. This filing shines a light on where their money is tied up and how much risk they're carrying in the tech world. So what are we looking at here? Well, this is a snapshot of Fidelity Concord Street Trust's investment in the information technology sector. It shows how much of their total investments are poured into companies that make and sell technology-related products and services. As of May 31, 2026, a massive 54.4% of their net assets were in this sector. That is a huge chunk of change, and it tells us a lot about their strategy. Scroll investments in securities, common stocks, communication services. Scroll, this filing breaks down where the company is investing its money across different market sectors. We see it broken down by percentages of the fund's net assets. For example, communication services makes up 14.7% of the fund's net assets, and then you have consumer discretionary at 12.5%. These are significant numbers that tell us this fund is really focused on growth areas within the economy. Looking at the fund's investments as of May 31, 2026, we see that almost all of its assets, 99.5%, are in common stocks. This means the fund is heavily invested in owning shares of companies that are traded on the stock market. This is pretty standard for a fund like this aiming for growth. Scroll Fidelity NASDAQ Composite Index Fund SEMI. Annual Report May 31, 2026 FIScroll. This is a crucial report for understanding the fund's performance for the period from the 1st of December 2025 to May 31, 2026. It gives us a detailed look at what the fund invested in its financial health and key statistics. For instance, the fund size was a whopping $27,928,000,000. That is a serious amount of money being managed and implies a lot of trust from investors. This report also lists the top holdings. These are the companies that the fund has invested the most in. At the very top, NVIDIA Corp holds a substantial 11.3% of the fund's net assets. Following closely behind are Apple Inc. at 10.0% and Microsoft Corp. at 7.4%. The fact that these tech giants are the top holdings shows a clear bet on the continued growth and dominance of the technology sector, particularly in areas like artificial intelligence and cloud computing. When we look at where the fund's assets are invested geographically, we see a dramatic concentration in the United States. Approximately 97.1% of the fund's net assets are in United States-based companies. This indicates a strong focus on the domestic market and a belief in its economic stability and growth potential. Here we get into the deep financial details. This section lays out the fund's financial statements and highlights, which are very important for understanding its financial health. We are talking about the statement of assets and liabilities, the statement of operations, and the statement of changes in net assets. These are the core documents that show how the fund is performing financially. Scroll statement of assets and liabilities as of May 31, 2026, unaudited. Scroll, let's look at the fund's financial position as of May 31, 2026. The total investment in securities amounted to over $28 billion. This is the value of all the stocks, bonds, and other investments the fund holds. On the other side of the ledger, liabilities such as management fees and other operating expenses totaled over $494 million. This means the fund's net assets were a solid over $27 billion. Scroll statement of operations 6 months ended May 31. 2026 unaudited. Scroll. Now let's examine the fund's income and expenses for the first half of 2026. The fund earned over $90 million in investment income, mainly from dividends. Expenses related to managing the fund, including management fees and administrative costs, were around $34 million. After accounting for expenses, the fund had a net investment income of over $56 million. This is basically the profit the fund made from its investments before considering changes in market value. Scroll net realized gain losses on investment securities. Scroll, this part of the filing is all about how the fund performed in the market. For the 6 months ending May 31, 2026, the net realized gain on investment securities was over $258 million. This is the profit made from selling investments that have increased in value. They also saw a massive increase in value from investments that are still held, totaling over $3.5 billion in unrealized gains. This table provides a crucial look at the fund's performance on a per-share basis over several years. For the 6 months ended May 31, 2026, the net asset value per S-share grew to $342.99, a significant jump from $297.85 at the start of the period. The total return for this 6-month period was an impressive 15.74%. Finally, we get to how the fund is managed. The Board of Trustees has continued the management contract with Fidelity Management, Civiamp, Research Company, LLC. This means their strategy and fees are rolling forward. The board is watching closely and will reevaluate these contracts in July 2026. They are focused on ensuring fair fees and strong performance for investors. It looks like Fidelity Concord Street Trust is making a big bet on the tech sector, especially companies like NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft, and they are heavily invested in the US market, while the fund has seen strong gains leading to a healthy rise in net asset value. Per se, the reliance on a few tech giants in the US market could pose risks if those sectors face a downturn, but for now investors seem to be benefiting from this strategy. Oh, and the research tools I actually use are linked in the description. They help keep this channel going. That is my take. Stay decoded. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description.